With Baldur's Gate 3 winning Game of the Year, I thought, what better time to go play its predecessor's most fun offshoots? Who am I kidding? I started re-recording this footage almost a year ago, and I started Dark Alliance 2 because, like most games I play, when I was a child, they were out of order. And 2 is better than 1 in every way. But I remember beating 2 and being confused at almost every turn, being 9 or 10 at the time. But the game did have one of my favorite characters, Drizzt. So, the first one can be so bad, right? I wanted to give you these in order. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're returning, I appreciate you and your patience. And don't ask me what happened to the Dragon Age video, I don't want to talk about it. As usual, the format to this video will be me playing the game as a casual player and addressing things as they come up. I will be addressing game mechanics, music, storylines, or the lack thereof. I did play this game on the hardest difficulty on my first playthrough as a ranger, and I stopped playing it as a ranger, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I will not be giving the game too much shit for its outdated graphics, even though I am playing it on the re-release PC version. It looks much like it did 23 years ago to me, but I used no mods, mostly because I couldn't find any, and I most definitely used game exploits. Don't judge me, the game was hard enough as it is. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content and show support for the channel. And, of course, spoiler warnings for Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. No, not that monstrosity, get it out of here. Was a third-person, top-down, real-time hack-and-slash role-playing game released in 2001. Developed by Snowblind Studios and published by Interplay Entertainment, which was a subsidiary, words aren't my strong suit, to BlackRock Studios. Now, if some of those sound familiar, congratulations, you probably are around 30 and had one hell of a childhood. Snowbird was founded in 1997 and specialized in RPGs, even though their first 2 games were racing games, and they really only made 7 games total. 1998 Top Gear Overdrive, 2000 Top Gear Hyperbike, then 2001 Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, 2004 Champions of Nora Realms of the EverQuest, 2005 Champions Return to Arms, 2006 Justice League Heroes, and then 2011 Lord of the Rings War of the North, which I actually played that last one. Most of these games scoring high 7s to low to mid 9s in reviews is not a horrible record, but Snowblind was acquired by the Warner Brothers in 2009 and then merged with Monolith Productions in 2012, which made the games like Fear and Shadow of Mordor. BlackRock had a hand in some of my favorite childhood racing games like ATV, Off-Road Fury games, and Split Second. BlackRock went through many renamings and ended up shutting down in early 2012. Interplay is best known for being the creator of the Fallout series and publishing the Baldur's Gate games. Dark Alliance takes place on Faerun in the Forgotten Realms, the setting for the Dungeons & Dragons. The base of the game is taken from the D&D 3rd edition rule set and was the first video game to use the real-time application to the 3rd edition rules, since they had been released in the year 2000. The game was well received on all 4 platforms it was released on, and the PlayStation 2 version winning Console RPG of the Year. A 3rd game was reported to be planned but got cancelled after Interplay went bankrupt and Black Island was shut down. Coming to the character selection, we have 3 options. Vaughn, the human archer, Chromalech, we have Dwarven fighter, and Adriana, the elven sorceress. Classic ranger, warrior, and mage flavors. All starting stats are set for each character. The customization of stats and feats comes in the forms of level up. We'll touch on that a little later. Each class has its strengths and its own set of spells and upgrades. They seem self-explanatory, but the archer gets upgrades to range attacks, fighter gets attacks to melee, damage, and resistance, and sorcerer gets more spells. But self-explanatory, I think. This game also has a couch co-op, even on the re-released PC version, but you cannot double up on the same character on one save. I wish they had added some sort of online play with the re-release, but that's just a nitpick. I never played it, but the Game Boy Advance version of this game allowed you to only play as a male, and then you could choose his class, ranger, warrior, mage, and after beating the game you unlocked an elven fighter. Since the classes are race locked, I do the sensible thing and choose the man with the stick that shoots pointier sticks, and then I proceed to not use said sticks ever again.
You are weary from your travels, but mesmerized at the sight of Baldur's Gate. Not only a town of myth and legend, but also a place where one can find fame and fortune round every corner. It is night as you enter the city, and it seems strangely deserted. But you soon discover that the night holds danger as well. And in an instant, that danger is upon you.
The game starts with us walking into Baldur's Gate, a narrator explaining that we are tired travelers, and then getting jumped and mugged by a group of thieves. One of the thugs refers to the man in the helmet as Karn. The watch happens upon us to scare off the ruffians, stealing all our stuff but sparing my life. The guards suggest going to the Elf Song Tavern. There's an eerie song being sung when you walk in, and the innkeep says that it is the ghost of an elven woman.
It is a small place, filled with a motley assortment of patrons and grisly trophies. There, the haunting voice is all around you, and the patrons are silent as the song washes over them. One by one, they all seemed lost in its call.
Beautiful song, isn't it? I've heard her sing 100 times, and each time it still moves me.
This is important, but it does not come into play much later. This will be your hub for part 1 of the game. Also, the BOOB jiggle physics are pretty impressive for a 23-year-old game. If you had this playing in the background on your second screen, or you looked over to check, you owe me a thumbs up. Hold on. Listen to this voice.
Her spirit was here when I first bought this tavern. Some say she sings for a lost love, a soldier who died defending Baldur's Gate.
Why does this sound so familiar?
They say she sings in the hope he will hear her voice and return home.
Oh, well, that's Jennifer Hale. In 2013, she was recognized by the Guinness Book of World Record for the most prolific video game actress, including, but not limited to, games franchises such as Baldur's Gate, Mass Effect, Metal Gear Solid, BioShock, Metroid Prime, Overwatch, and Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. And Hale is featured in animations such as The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, The Powerpuff Girls, Codename Kid Next Door, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, Totally Spies, Avatar Last Airbender, and its continuation, The Legends of Korra, Star Wars Clone Wars, and Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego? She also voices Thorn from Hex Girls in various Scooby-Doo movies and TV episodes, as well as Cinderella and the Princess Aurora and the Disney Princess medias of the 2000s to the 2010s. This was fucking Commander Shepard. Holy hell, this woman is Thorn from the Hex Girl. She is the whole reason that I have a horrible taste in women.
I'm gonna cast a spell on you. You're gonna do what I want you to. Mix it up here in my little bowl. Say a few words and you lose control. I'm a hex girl, and I'm gonna put...
This will not be the last we geek out over the voice actors, because the cast is just fucking stacked. We tell her about our mugging. She says it sounds like the new guild in town since the disappearance of the old one. We tell her we need to find them and get our stuff back, and she tells us about the sewer underneath the inn and a gate leading to the guild's hideout. And since we are going down there anyway, she asks us to clear out the rats. How cliche. There are a few people in here to talk to and the save station. Yes, you little shits who have been spoiled with autosaves. This game, you have to go back to this book and save the game. And when you die, you'll restart from your last save at the book. And as my mom used to say, save now, save often. I talk to the patrons, get the key for the cellar, and collecting a side quest and finding the merchant. doing the ancient gamer tradition of selling all my clothes for pennies. And then I delve into the cellar. I am playing on a controller and the controls are as expected. Left stick moves character, up and down a D-pad look throughout available spells, right and left on the D-pad to quick swap between melee and ranged, right stick to move camera, X to attack, circle to cast slotted spell, triangle to jump, square to interact, select to open inventory, start to pause, L1 to toggle mini-map size, L2 to drink a mana potion, R1 to block or parry, blocks with shield, parries with anything else, R2 to drink health potions, and R3 to reset camera. Along with the HUD looking par for the course, resources are top right corner, red health, XP green, mana blue. And I like my map in the top right. After clearing out the rats and some spiders, I go back to the innkeeper and she tells me that Ethan, a guy who gave me the key for the cellar, followed me down and is now lost and she is worried about him. She gives me the key to the gate leading to the rest of the sewers and asks us to find him. She gives us the key to the gate leading to the rest of the sewers and asks us to find him. I get my second level after speaking to her. You get the corresponding feat points to your level. Level 2 you get 2 points, level 3 3, level 4 4, and so on, which are used to upgrade feats or spells. Every 4 levels we will get an attribute point to add to our core stats. That's our strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and charisma. And this game's level cap is 40. That is a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nines. That is for a grand total of 99,999,999 experience points. Holy hell. I did not max out for this video. I head back down to search for the Lost Man and the entrance to the Thieves Guild. Find some secret walls and have loot behind them. These are normally pretty simple to find, and all you have to do is run up to them, hit square to interact, and they just open up. I descend lower and I get a cutscene of Ethan in a cell and Karn talking to a bugbear, I think?
Don't hurt him. Lord XamTam will wish to speak to him, and he'll need to be in the best of health. Ah, excellent. I was expecting you. Did you receive the package from Lord XamTam?
Yeah, I looked it up. It's a bugbear. Man runs in with something that is covered, which looks like a robe, I think, and Karn mentions another party that he called Lord XamTam. Zaktam? A man runs in with something round that is covered with what looks like a robe, and Karn mentions another party called Lord XamTam, and that this orb thing can be taken to the temple. Karn tells the bugbear to guard the prisoner, and that he will return for said prisoner. As I said before, I picked the archer and never really used the bow. I ended up running two-handed weapons most of the time. This is because the mechanic of aim with the bow is horrible. You have to move the left stick to aim and continuously shoot to get the little line to show up where the arrow is going. And the arrows are a usable resource that can be bought or found. There are a few times in the game where the bow is helpful, but I found myself using it almost not at all. I find myself dying a few times to kobolds, which sound like monkeys. Until I can kite them out of the room and do a run around, turn, swing, run away tactic. The next group of spear-throwing kobolds also just ruined my day. At one point, I had finally gotten some padded armor and then died and then had to fight the kobolds again. I killed my first bugbear with a dagger and shield, blocking his attacks and slashing as many times as I could and with the fast-cutting dagger. I finally go buy some armor. I find some boxes that I can jump on to get these hidden chests. I like this, and you only see jumping used a few times to interact with the environment in this game. I found and killed a rodent of unusual size.
Wesley, what about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
Finally found the bugbear guard and had my first little boss fight. This fight is fucking hard. The bugbear has a much faster attack than the first bugbear I fought, and the timing of the shield and dagger combo just wasn't quite working. Along with there being kobolds in the room and the shield only blocks in the direction you're looking, and I'm quickly getting outflanked. I ended up kiting the kobolds out of the room, killing them, and then going back and having to block 3 to 4 hits just to swing once and whittle him down. The bugbear drops the cell key. We free Ethan and he tells us he was a member of the old guild. Gives us another key to go deeper into the sewers and fills us in on the parts that my character was not there for. The pacing of the game has been very good so far, even though it's been hard to play through. First we had simple rats and spiders, then kobolds, then a few rats to show how far you've come in the first bit of the game. Then a harder enemy, the first bugbear, to get you ready for the boss. Then after the boss, another bugbear to show you that now you know how to beat this enemy type. I like it. Granted, the models are all reused, and there's, for example, just different colored kobolds to show whether they're a mage or melee or ranged, but overall it's good. The only problem is a fault of my own, playing on the hardest difficulty first and alone. After fighting through some slimes, bugbears, and kobolds, I decided to do an old exploit that I remember doing as a kid. So the exploit is, you can load in any character from any save file and they will come in with their full inventory. So you can have a second player hold all your gear and then you can just drop it, they pick it up, you leave, you reload the same fully kitted character, and you just repeat. I remember doing this with a higher level character to gear out a low level character since there were no level requirements on weapons and armor. But now I'm doing it to dupe items to sell to get infinite money to buy the best gear and healing potions I need. And boy, do I frickin' need them. I don't think I would have been able to beat this game with a fresh character on the hardest difficulty without it. This exploit just saved my life. I find the stairs to the crypt and enter to get a scene of Karn talking to XamTam about the orb. And they know something is going on in the sewer because none of the bugbears they sent have come back, and that the orb can be placed in the Chamber of Ashes. In the crypt we get 2 new enemies, skeletons and zombies, and this is where some outside game knowledge comes in for me. I happen to know that in D&D, skeletons have a resistance to slashing and a weakness to blunt. And since my greatsword was doing shit damage, I went and bought a mace, to see if the same held true in the game, and it does. Nice. I love seeing little details like this in older games, and it adds another level of tactic to this hack and slash. The Elder Scrolls Arena also did this type of weakness and resistance, and I know that because I did a video on that as well. I clear the room and meet Fayed, who is voiced by Cam Clark. If you don't know who that is, well, he was Leonardo and Rocksteady in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original animated series, and he also voiced Liquid Snake in the Metal Gear series, as well as the singing voice for Simba in The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Just a few of the things that he's been in. Fade is a priest of Ilminster who requests my help in stopping the Orb of the Dead, which has filled the crypts with the zombies of the skeleton. The orb seems to have some sort of sentience. Fade said that it has called to him and the other priests and then killed them when they had gotten too close, turning them to undead. Fade will heal you as well if you ask him to. I agree to help him and I move on. Zombies sometimes split in half after you hit them and continue to fight. Nice touch. I find the orb and I have my second boss fight. This one has some mechanics though. I run up and hit the orb and it begins to charge and sends out bursts of power, raising skeletons to attack me. These guys hurt, and there's about 12 of them for each wave. After summoning the undead, the orb levitates, so it can't be hit until you clear out all of the skeleton. After defeating the orb, I find a map on the dead thief's body. Fayed joins me in the room asking who would want to harm people like this. I show him the map, suggesting that the guild is responsible. He tells me to meet him back at the Elf Song's tavern. Returning to the tavern has us talking to a man named Jarek. Once again, this voice sounds like my childhood.
You rescued him in the sewers, and I have already heard of your bravery in the Shrine of Suffering. I decided that I would see this hero for myself. I am not disappointed.
Jarek is voiced by, my god, John Rhys Davy. It's fucking Gimli. Jarek is voiced by Gimli. Oh my god. Jarek is a Harper and commends you on your accomplishments and asks you to join the Harpers, and I accept. He explains that the new guild has powerful magic backing it. He wants us to infiltrate the new guild. No one knows how to get in to the secret door to get to the guild's hideout. Conveniently, we have found a key on the dead thief's body, in the chamber with the orb. I head back to the sewers and spend an embarrassing amount of time backtracking to find said hidden door. If you guys haven't figured it out or don't know, this game is going to be very linear, especially when it comes to how we perceive RPGs today. There will be two kind of quests, main and side. The main quests must be finished to progress through the acts, and the side quests are not needed to progress and are locked to each act. There are no markers for side quests, but your journal keeps track of them and can normally be completed on accident if you explore or talk to everyone. I will not be taking time to talk about the side quests unless I find them overly interesting, because most of them are boring. We get a conversation between Karn and XamTam. XamTam is not pleased about the orb being destroyed and begin to set other things into motion.
Make its way here.
It shall not come to that, my lord. I swear it.
We shall see, Khan. If you fail me in this, I shall attend to the matter personally.
During this, we get a big reveal. XamTam is a beholder. Ew. Both cool and ew. We begin to fight our way through the Thieves Guild compound. We battle some new enemies like human rogues and these pod things. These are gas spores. I looked these up. I've never heard of them before, but they are balloon-like toxic spores that resemble beholders that are normally found in myconid colonies. Neat. After we fight through this gauntlet of spiders, slimes, rats, kobolds, traps, and thieves, oh my, we encounter Karn. And here we have three options to say, I'm gonna kill you, then you fight. This fight was very hard for me. Karn has a few tools at his disposal, and all of them are deadly to me at this point. Once again, I believe this is my own fault for playing in the hardest difficulty on the first playthrough. But I am wearing the best gear I can at this point, and Karn has throwing knives which he is very good at leading, so you can run into them, and if you try to run a circle around him, they make you zig and zag to not get hit. You can do a smokescreen teleport sending him behind you, and a one-handed sword. I died a lot. I tried outrunning the dagger and shooting him, but about 3 to 5 of the daggers and I died. I tried a sword and board technique, blocking the daggers, get close enough to him to hit him. I even tried plugging in a second controller with a fully kitted level 1 dwarf to take any amount of the damage away from me. I ended up running back and forth, zigzagging. After he throws some daggers, misses, he would run at me with a sword, giving me a chance to shoot him a few times with my bow. I also found if I ran down behind this corner by the save point and hide, he would reset without gaining any of his health back, and I would heal. After an hour and about 20 deaths, I finally defeated Karn, and fuck, it felt good. Entering the next level, we have some, what I would call, puzzles? Don't get spotted by the eye and flip the switches. Pretty simple. I make my way to the end of the puzzle hallway, and I am faced with XamTam. This fight was much less climactic than I was expecting. If you stand too close, he bites you. He can also shoot magic missiles, summon fire, and balls of lightning. Pretty much all of his magic can be dodged or outrun, and his bite can be blocked. I pretty much just got close, swung my sword, ran around him so he missed his bite, and then swung again.
You have accomplished far more than I could have hoped. Truly, the Harpers are blessed to have you among our number. The wall. Marsh of Chalimba? It is as I feared. The evil that has risen in Baldur's Gate is only part of a greater evil. These 3 locations are tied, though I know not how. It seems this gate is tied to the Sunset Mountains. A further cause for worry.
After beating XamTam, Jarek walks in and thanks you. He notices the map on the wall showing Baldur's Gate and 2 other locations pinned, Sunset Mountains and the Marsh of Chelminder. There is also an archway that he calls a gate. This is how the Beholder was able to get in and out and bring troops in undetected. Jarek also somehow knows that this gate is tied to the Sunset Mountains. Not sure how he knows that, but okay. The Harpers have heard rumors about the goings-on in the Sunset Mountains and sent a scout, but they had never returned. Jarek asks us to go to the Sunsets by going through the gate. He gives us a few rewards for our troubles, a magic sword, and a bow, 2,000 gold, and experience. After entering the gate, we end Act 1 and begin Act 2 in the Sunset Mountains. I'm going to say this now. I do not like Act 2. I feel like it's nothing of real substance to the story, and in my opinion, you'll see why as I continue. I walk through the gate and find myself on a mountain path. As I begin forward, I encounter gnolls. Instantly, I get the feeling of being far away from Baldur's Gate, just with the monster choices. Right behind the gnolls up the path are Chewbaccas? I'm kidding. I think these are Yetis. The gnolls mostly use an axe and shield combo, block your attacks, as well as kick you. It's a nice little style choice that I appreciate. The Yetis throw large rocks at me from a distance, ripping away large chunks of my life. I died a lot on this mountain path. Learning a new enemy and how they move and attack was unforgiving. I also had no hub to recall to, seeing as how I was no longer in Baldur's Gate. I could not recall to the inn to buy any potions. And I saved at the end of the XamTam Boss fight, so I was stuck with the gear and potions I had in my pocket. The difficulty jump, once again, I believe is no fault of the game. After thinking about it, it makes sense to load an older character from a normal difficulty finished game into a hard and then into an extreme, doing it as a new game plus sort of thing, which would explain why 40 is the level cap. I do end up loading an old save, refighting XamTam, and buying 85 health pots. And from now on, this is where all of my gold goes to. Health pots. I didn't mention it before, but the health pots don't heal you instantly. They are health regain potions. So the new combat style is this. Run in, hack and slash, pop health, run till health is full, and repeat. Trolls are carrying big clubs that one or two shot me and throw boulders as well. Boulders can be blocked, so I just shoot fire arrows in between each boulder throw. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that I did not notice much of a difference between fire arrows and non-fire arrows on the trolls. This area takes me an hour to complete before finally finding a small mining camp of dwarves. First thing I do is save. Then I talk to the merchant. I'm not sure why, but I really love the look and the selection of the weapons in this game. You have a lot of choices to choose from. Daggers, clubs, short swords, hand axe, light mace, long swords, scimitar, morning stars, warhammers, battle axe, bastard swords, great swords, great axes, and short swords. While writing this, I found an amazing site that has a list of every weapon in the game, every effect, and every bonus and what they mean. I love numbers, and there are a lot of them. I'll leave a link below for those who are wanting to see them themselves, but GG Lancet Jades, you are a legend. Anyway, the weapon effects are listed from the type of metal or wood the weapons are made of, to the craftsmanship or the element the weapon produces. Rusted weapons would do less damage than a master, while a keen blade will increase in critical chance. A flaming weapon has a chance to burn an enemy and turns all damage to fire, and some have a bonus up to +5, which just means the lowest number and the highest number of damage get a base +5 to them. I'm not going to get into how the damage numbers work more than this, because it's just a rabbit hole. But there are 153 different weapons. There are 14 shields, 47 helmets, 47 gloves, 47 boots, 55 pieces of chest armor, 30 rings, and 30 amulets, 5 for each attribute. It's a lot of equipment for this game, along with the loot being a semi-random drop. What do I mean by semi-random? Well, look at this table for reference. So you can only get up to scale armor in Act 1, and only up to chainmail in Act 2, and half plate and plate in Act 3. The quality of the lower tiers of weapon and armors are going up in later act, but still armor and weapons tier/quality are locked by act. While doing research for this, I also found an interesting quote from an Interplay dev. From interplay.com, one of the developers named Dave Molindo made this post. Unfortunately, the way BGDA handles armor to hit rolls, a monster statistically makes armor relevancy ineffective later in the game. Basically, any attacker's chance to hit a target is its base attack divided by the target's armor bonus. The problem was that the later monsters often have so high a base attack that the resulting number was always 1 or greater. In other words, 100% chance or better to hit. In addition, armor has no damage resistance, meaning that if it's not stopping monsters from hitting the character completely, it does no good at all. This would also explain why I feel like I'm just getting smashed in the game. My armor is simply not working, even at the low levels, because the enemy's numbers are all boosted for the difficulty. It's all in or nothing, in the way that the monster's AI is rolling a dice against my armor, and if the higher roll, they hit. So if I had used endgame armor for a fresh start, this would be less of a problem. I know I said I wouldn't go too much in detail, but much like Alice, I did tumble down this rabbit hole. I find a dwarf named Torgir. Now I'm a little upset. Torgar Hammer Striker is a character from the Legend of Drizzt books, and this tribe's name is Bangor, Brungor, and Brunner Battlehammer is the king of Mithril Hall from the books. Now that I think about, the merchant's name is Brannock, and the dwarf that takes the crown from Brunner when he passes is Banak. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be them, which it's not. I looked it up on the wiki, or lazy naming, or if they had planned on them being the dwarves from the books, which would make sense. I mean, it is a licensed Wizards of the Coast game. Hell, they already had Drizzt in it. I don't know. It's a nitpick, and hearing their names made me think they were from the books, and I was excited at one point. Anyway, Torgir tells us that Drow elves have pushed the clan out of their tunnels. He describes the Drow attack party as a patrol, and how scores of the dwarves fell. How the fucking big is this patrol? Okay. The wiki says a Drow patrol is 7 to 12 bodies, and a score, if I'm not mistaken, is 20. He said scores with an S. So I'm guessing low of a 40 to 60 dwarves. You're telling me 7 to 12 Drow took out 40 to 60 dwarves. Even a surprise dwarf fighting for their tunnels is mean as shit. Whatever. I tell this lame excuse for a dwarf that I am trying to find the source of the problems in Baldur's Gate, and I'm guessing the Drow are connected to them somehow. He tells us that the leader has the key to the last tunnel door. But the leader also ran up the mountain with a few others to light a signal fire to call for help from other dwarves. I guess we have to go up before we can go down. I take a moment to dupe up some items and gear before my hike up the mountain. I leave the camp to the forest at the base of the mountain, and am insulted by what seems like an unreasonable amount of wolves. I follow a mountain path to a knoll camp and keep climbing. I like the change of scenery here. I feel like I am climbing to a mountaintop. First trees, then just rocks, then a little snow, and then just snow and ice. It's not just a loading screen and at the top of the mountain, and then boom, snow. I fight through some frost Chewbaccas that don't seem to be affected by fire. I find some ice caves and clear them out. There's not really anything good in them except some gold and health pots and monsters. There are some piles of bones, so maybe these are camping spots that the dwarves have used and died at. Maybe they are just monster dens. I hit level 8, and my train of thought is high strength for attack bonus and high dex for the defense bonus. I also have been putting most of my points into missile, reflect, and dodge for more defense. But I'm still chugging health pots like an alcoholic father getting ready to spend the next 18 years paying child support. So to pretty much sum up the rest of this mountain part, it's kind of like this. Knoll camp, trolls, wolves, repeat. I get to the top and find the key on some dwarfs in blocks of ice and realize I must have made a mistake. I'm where I'm supposed to be, I think. I made it to the top. And now I begin to retrace my steps, and I end up finding Colgrim in a cave, wounded and dying. He gives me fuel to light the watchtower and doesn't know where the matches are. Another dwarf had them. Colgrim dies, and I go looking for the matches in another fucking section of this ice hell. More gnolls, more trolls, more yetis. I have to start using movement tactics because Trolls throws one hit me and the gnolls are rushing me. But this isn't fun anymore. I'm really beaten down. I end up climbing down the other side of the mountain to finding the matches. To climb back up to the top and light the fire and melt the ice off the bodies, freeing the key. The fire wakes Syraxes, leading to a cutscene of the most awkward looking white dragon I have seen in a long time. I think it's sleeping with one eye open, or just keeping an eye on his treasure. I don't know. Torgiar. I hate it so much. Well, we tell the dwarf no one made it out and the dragon is awake, and we head for the tunnels. The drow are a joke compared to what we just fought in the mountain. The archers only use crossbows and run away when we get too close to them, and everyone dies in 2 to 4 hits. These being dwarven mining tunnels, there are a lot of explosive barrels which are kind of fun to work into blowing up drow, but the drow can also activate them by shooting. I've never noticed that they did it on purpose, but it did happen. Drow are also known for their poison-tipped crossbow bolts, which are normally sleeping poison, but here they just kill me. I also don't like they appear to be using full-size crossbow when drow have a signature hand crossbow that is much smaller. I know it's a little thing here, but I feel like it's just an oversight that could have been something cooler. Maybe if there are 2 players, the drow only put you to sleep and your partner can come and revive you, or something. And the crossbows it just feels wrong to me. Eventually I do find some drow females who are magic users, so I'm assuming they're priestesses, but they're using swords. Priestesses of Lolth normally have whips of some kind, if I remember correctly. It's a staple of their culture, I'm pretty sure. I do like the lizard riders though. They are often elite drow males, so I must be getting closer to whoever's in charge here. I find Ilavara, a dark elf priestess. Odd she has no last name. She's a leader of this band of drow, and she tells us that this attack wasn't her plan, and pretty much that's all of her dialogue. Also, who the hell animated her? I played this game for the story, I swear. But the boob physics are probably the most impressive part of this entire game. Ilavara is actually a good boss fight, and I enjoyed it more than the others so far, even though I died a few times. She can teleport, summon skeletons, use magic missiles, use a poison cloud, block, use fan of blades. She can also make herself immune to damage. And she's got a mean kick. It can take half of my health. Her kicks are honestly the most powerful attack, which is hilarious to me. After defeating her, she drops a horn with a key attached. We've free Brogan, the Harper scout that was missing from my cell. He tells us that the drow attack was just a diversion to cover up the movements of the gnolls and ogres.
I did not notice much of a difference between fire arrows and non-fire arrows on the trolls.
Huh. I guess those ogres were not trolls. Guess that's why they didn't take the extra fire damage. He tells us that the drow spoke of a second gate here in the sunsets, leading to the marsh, and it must be in the ice caves on the mountain. I spend a little bit more time poking around the tunnels, and I find this bugger. This is a number hulk. Just a cool creature to see down here, that's all. I return to Tugur. I return to Tugur. For him that we cleared the mines, he rewards me, and I head up the path looking for the 3rd gate. And I am once again assaulted by gnolls, kobolds, and ogres. But these all appear to be the elite versions. I fight a few, and as soon as I realize that I can outrun them, I just do that. I make it to the cave entrance, which is iced over. I blow the horn I took from the drow leader's corpse. Entering the cave, we're back to Yetis! Until we get this cutscene. I think this is the first time, other than the dragon, that the game has said, hey look, new enemy, in this way. And honestly, it's a perfect place to do this kind of intro. These are displacer beasts. Normally they can project illusions of themselves to throw prey off and attack from a different direction. This reminds me of a great quote. Even illusions can kill you if you believe in them. But these beasts seem to just go invisible. I do love the spot they chose to show this in. The water ripples if a displacer beast walks through it, giving you a way to counter their invisibility. And this is shown in the cutscene. This is just good game design. I also discovered that if I shoot them with a lightning arrow, I can follow the ball of lightning for the duration of the spell. Also, pretty much every room that there's a displacer beast, there is a pool for you to wait for them to walk into. I like everything they did right here. Like, this is a 10 out of 10. I fight through some more yetis, some frost wolves, and some frost spiders until I run into this monstrous humanoid. And it barely fits on my screen. It's a frost giant, and he kills me. So I decided to use the new tactic I learned, and I make a run for it. I enter a large ice cave, which is where the dragon Syraxis lairs. There is no dialogue, just walk in and fight, and the dragon one-shots me. Syraxis has a few unique attacks. When it stomps the ground, chunks of the ice ceiling fall down, dealing damage and slowing me with cold damage. It also has an ice breath that slows you and shoots really big frickin' snowballs. I think that's what those are. It can also fly around the cave. The breath is really hard to avoid, and it has the two effects, the breath itself and the giant snowballs. Also gives it two ranges. The breath is a short range while the snowballs go until they hit something. I stand by the entrance of the cave and shoot arrows at the dragon using the direction that the snowballs are coming from as a guide, and I just heal through whatever damage I take from them. Syraxis also will wear its damage, which is a cool effect. As its health gets lower, it gets gashes on its face and neck. With the white worm defeated, I loot its hoard. At the beginning, I complained about this act giving very little to the story, and I still stand by that. Act 1's story was way better in every way. We get mugged by the Thieves Guild, we help the tavern lady, we go to the sewers and find out the Thieves Guild is actually part of something bigger, and up to worse than just muggings. We stop the Orb, the big reveal of the Beholder. We confront the first lieutenant of this guild and get a revenge for the mugging, and then we take down the Beholder leader of this entire section of the guild. In Act 2, we have, a total of 5 conversations? Dwarves are in trouble. Dark elves are the problem. Kill Drow. Drow goes, "You dumb. This isn't even my plan. There's someone worse." Oh, and there's a dragon. The Drow felt more like a dark elves are bad guys, we need more bad guys. More than something that was supposed to be a story pillar. I didn't like the execution of this act, which sucks, because they had some things that were done very right. But the fact that this act feels like a filler overshadows it. And if you disagree or think I'm missing the point, feel free to let me know in the comments. And while you're doing that, I'm going to enter this 3rd grade, and I'm on my way, Act 3, The Marsh of Chilimber. I exit the other side of the gate and into a temple with water on the floors and zombies knocking on the door. Now knowing that I must find the hub as fast as I can, I run for it. I run past everything. I don't even take time to look at the lizardmen. I just run from safe point to safe point till I find Slavis. Slavis, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who also does Goro in Mortal Kombat, and Captain Gonto in Lilo and Stitch. He's also Bulkhead in Transformers. He's also in other things like Deus Ex Machina, The Matrix Revolution. He was also in Family Guy, Cleveland Show, and American Dad, The Simpsons, and Futurama. Slavis is a native lizard folk. He admits to being the one to herd us here to talk to him. I'm not sure I like that phrasing. Slavis is some kind of mage or shaman. He used a half magic on me so I could understand him. I like this bit of explaining away the talking lizard man. He discloses information about the menacing Onyx Tower nearby, and that the tribe of the area has somehow become enslaved by it. All but him. He tells us that killing the king of the lizard folk will cause them to fall apart and scatter, destroying the assembling army. You can ask him about the area and the drowned city for some nice world building, but nothing that gives directly to the story, and I'm not overly concerned about it. Long story short, a king pissed off a shaman, and shaman drowned the city. Slavis will be our hub for the remainder of the game. I fight through hordes of lizardmen, and I just start running by. I'm no longer fighting. It's just so bogged down. I find my way into the castle of the old king from the story, and I find the lizard king, Sethis. I love the choice to put human faces as his necklace. Slavus' spell is still on me, so I can talk to him. But again, I only have 2 ways to tell him I'm going to kill him. This is the part of the game where I discover the weapon type I will be using for the remainder of the game, the halberd. It's hard-hitting and fast due to the animation of you swiping with not just the head of the weapon, but also the butt. After defeating the brute of a lizard king, Slavis tells me that the way will be clear of his people. He guides us to the tower, which is infested with minotaurs, and I find out here that I can save scum to loot these chests. So I do that, trying to get all max armor for the coming battles. We take the portal through the plane of water and inside of the tower. This is my favorite level of the game. I love the way the tower looks and feels. I love the golems or the constructs, and the challenge feels very balanced out. I fight my way through the tower until I find this absolute tank. After feeding it, it drops the Onyx Blade, the highest damage weapon I've found so far. I reach a floor that is only inhabited by ghosts, and I find one willing to talk to me. His name is Kaladin. Kaladin is played by Dwight Schultz. He's kind of known for his small role as Captain Howling Mad Maddox in the 1980s series, the A-Team, but I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. Or, as I like to call him, the Ghost of Exposition. He tells us that he was the first captain of the Company of the Westering Sun, and all of these spirits here are his brothers in arms, but are now trapped, waiting for Eldrith to be released. Who is Eldrith? I have no clue. First I've heard of her, or of the Westering Suns for that matter. He is surprised that I, my character, does not know who Eldrith is. So he tells me the tale of Eldrith the Betrayer. Eldrith once served Baldur's Gate as the greatest general, fighting a crusade against the Black Horde. After defending the city, she defied direct orders and led her army in pursuit of the retreating Horde, trapping them in a ravine. The Horde proved stronger than she had anticipated, and she asked the city of Baldur's Gate for reinforcements, which never came. Eldrith survived, but her army was defeated. After her return to Baldur's Gate, she was refused entry and was told that her and her band were never allowed entry again. Furious, she rallied the remaining soldiers to attack Baldur's Gate, but again was defeated. The city's soldiers pursued her and her men to these marshes, and it had been decided that she was too dangerous to be left alive. Every member was hunted and killed. Eldrith was the last to die, surrounded, alone, and shot by arrows because the soldiers were too afraid to get in the range of the warrior woman's sword. But Eldrith's rage was such that she returned to life, creating the Onyx Tower, which gave her the access to the portals, seeking revenge. This is it. This is the story that I've spent 100 hours looking for, and I find it right before the last boss. This is a great story. The hero becomes the villain arc, the vengeful spirit. There is so much potential here. Why is it at the damn end of the game? Why couldn't we have heard about Eldrith before? Maybe people comparing us to her before her fall. Maybe people use her as a cautionary tale. But maybe people don't go to the marsh because there was a great battle there and it's haunted. Anything. The tiniest bread trail would have made me happy. Do you know what the one connecting piece is here? Kaladin is the soldier that the elven ghost that sings at the beginning of the game inside of the elf song Inn. That is the full circle moment. Fuck! Kellen explains that defeating Eldrith will destroy the tower and free the trapped souls. But it may only cost us our lives, since she has us locked in, and if she dies, the tower falls into the plane of fire. I ask if she has any weaknesses, and he says that she's given a lot to the tower, so maybe it's her weakness. Or maybe it's friendship. The Onyx Blade. It's the Onyx Blade. I ascend the stairs to face the queen of this tower. Oh look, there's a gate over there. Now we are face to face with Eldrith the Betrayer, voiced by Vanessa Marshall. You may know her from Hera in the Star Wars Rebels. She does the classic bad guy monologue, pretty standard stuff. This fight took me hours. I think I have 2 hours of footage of me dying. I stopped recording and kept trying. And of course, that's when I accidentally beat her. I swear that I actually did it. As Eldrith falls, she repents her actions, and with the tower collapsing, I enter the last gate, not knowing where it leads, and we get this cinematic.
In the flash of the portal's light, Eldrith's tower was no more. Lightning rained upon the tower, and flames as if from within. And thus, in a storm of fire and lightning, Eldrith died her second death. But it was all part of a much larger design.
It is done. Eldrith is undone. And her threat to us and our plans has been ended. And the Harper that defeated her, killed. Now we may continue without interference, Master.
Where did the portal lead? It led to a far distant land, far from Baldur's Gate, far from the Sunset Mountains, far from the marsh of Chalimber, and far from safety. But that is a tale for another time.
Before my final thoughts, I'd like to say, yes, I attempted the gauntlet. And no, I did not unlock Drizzt. The gauntlet is really fucking hard. So, is this game worth $30? Is it worth playing in 2024? Was it as good as I remember? No, yes, no, in that order. This game is good. It's not great, not amazing, just good. I did enjoy myself, and this game will always have a special place in my heart. I know my opinion on a hack and slash game not having a good story may rub some of your feathers the wrong way.
Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
It is a game based in a very lore-heavy world, and there is an amazing story potential here, and it just falls short. I guess this is a good place to explain the title. A half-told story in a half-main game. Well, how about this?
That is a tale for another time.